You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
We are on. All right. So, welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. It was a slow one. I didn't see a go thing either way. No worries.
Well, I gave you the finger, but you weren't sure what it meant. So that was the problem. Yeah.
Am I number one, or is it? Yeah. All right. So a different go today, a more comical go for us here on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. All right, we'll get those hand signals right.
I told you.
No worries. All right, here we are. We're live. That's what you love about live radio. I mean, if you didn't know that we're live, now you know. 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial, every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. We are sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida. We're a nonprofit association by contractors, for contractors, and consumers here in the state of Florida. Check us out online, raflorida.org. Donate, like us, and follow us. You can find us in many different forms. You can find us online at our YouTube page. Believe it or not, we do have a face for radio, but if you want to check us out and see Hans' dapper suit of the day, which will be different every single week, so if you're just so intrigued, like us, follow us on our YouTube page and watch our videos there. If you're a streaming kind of person, Spotify, iTunes, find us there, as every episode is then transferred over to streaming. I would say by Wednesday or Thursday. We record on Monday nights. Wednesday or Thursday, we're on every streaming show that you can think of. I think the most popular ones are going to be iTunes and Spotify is where you're going to find us there. So a lot of different ways for you to not to miss a show. And so anyway, so much excitement today that I was talking so much with Hans about all the stuff that's going on in the legislature that we fumbled the beginning of the show. But here we are. The most exciting thing that we're talking about, Hans, is by the way, let me get some introductions here. We got Hans Kennon, Kennon Law. Man, I got it down. You only need one call, and that's at Kennon Law, right?
Right. There we go. We worked on it last week for a while. I jotted down a few suggestions. I think that was what we came up with.
I love it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. No, I think we can certainly say no artificial intelligence here.
Yeah, zero.
We're 100% live, real intelligence.
Absolutely. And right before, we're just talking about the exciting part about what we think and hope maybe that can come down the line in our Florida legislature as it now is halfway through. I don't know, maybe we haven't hit the halfway mark. No, we're about 3 weeks into our 60-day Florida legislature, where it meets every year to seemingly try to put us under as contractors, attorneys, or whatever, as we were the reasons why property policies premiums kept rising. Apparently it's because of us.
And why insurers kept saying they were going broke.
Right. It wasn't from overpaying subsidiaries. It was from lawyers and roofers and contractors and those types of folks.
Exactly.
Right.
And unfortunately, they never had any proof for any of that.
Right.
But they were still able to get those bills passed, and now there's proof that in fact that was untrue, and in fact it was all from paying their subsidiaries way too much money.
Right. Even though the proof was there, that actually testified in 3 House committees and Senate committees there that had the proof, and that was emailed to them before they voted on those crazy bills, who then changed the landscape of that we've had for over 120 years as far as the consumer. If they were wronged by their insurer, they would get their attorney's fees and costs paid for by the wrongdoer, by the insurance companies who were wrong. If you have a $10,000 roof dispute, why are you paying half of that out to try to get your $10,000 roof claim paid? It doesn't make sense. What does make sense, if they're wrong, you, the insured, get the full amount of the indemnity, which is what you should have gotten prior to, not indemnity minus cost, minus lawyer fees. At some point, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, and then the insurance companies get what they want, which is a high premium and no recourse and basically no claim payouts.
Yeah. No, exactly. As we saw with Citizens at 77% for Helene and Milton, or Debbie and Helene, about 50% for snake farmers, we call them, and all snake. Literally paying without money being paid out. Citizens closing 77% of its claims. I mean, that's unbelievable, which I think is probably true.
Right. That's a great word. I was going to go somewhere more vulgar, but I'll take that for now since we are on live radio, as we all know. But today we have Steven Marty with us, and thank you for being here. Black Diamond Services. I've been using them or been affiliated with them in one way or another. If I'm not referring them, then we're reaching out to them for help to assist clients who have an insurance claim and that they need assistance, right? Whether it be additional living expense, whether it be any really part of some claim assistance, they're into funding, they're into helping out the consumer. What's going on, Steven? How are you doing?
Hey guys, good afternoon. Thank you guys for having me. Pleasure being here.
Absolutely, man. It's great to see you outside of either, the office working or at networking events. It's great for you to be here, man.
Definitely.
And I'm excited for you to tell everybody what you do and how you help consumers here in the state of Florida and other states too.
Absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So thank you guys for the opportunity again.
Sure. Tell us all about it.
So yeah, so just a little bit about the company, Black Diamond Claim Solutions. We really tailored around additional living expenses. So ALE under the homeowners insurance policy, coverage D. A lot of it is us assisting homeowners with relocation services. So when homeowners have an insurance claim, whether it's fire, water, storm damage, anything basically that makes the home uninhabitable, we kind of step in and, take that homeowner from chaos to comfort.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Nice. And that's a great way to put it. And when you're even going further down the road, many people don't know that that type of coverage exists in their policy. They don't know that if they're in a 3-bedroom home, 2-bath, and their kitchen and bathrooms and some of their bedrooms are affected, whether it be a fire or flood, that they don't know that within their policy, some policies, depending on what policy they purchase, but it usually would come with some sort of ALE coverage, which is additional living expense that would put them into a home that's similar, a 3-bedroom, a 2-bath, so their family can then have a bathroom, have a kitchen to be able to make themselves food, those types of things. Or if they didn't have a kitchen, they would be able to then have food that could get reimbursed. And so within that claim. So tell us a little bit about those types of additional living expense reimbursement mechanisms that you guys have, because from what I understand, you can even front some of that stuff and or even have a trailer being delivered to their home and those types of things that are so helpful after a storm.
Absolutely, yeah, and you said it right there, especially when it comes to, catastrophic damages, things that are related to a hurricane or anything like that. I think for us personally, the alternative housing that we can provide, which like you were saying is the RVs, I think what it does to the homeowner, it brings that peace to them. A lot of homeowners are scared of, or past experiences of having to leave their property, afraid of looters or, people coming in and breaking into the property or anything like that. Yeah. So for us to be able to provide an alternative option, bringing an RV, hooking it up with electrical, and then having like a service company come out to do the septic and the cleaning of it, it kind of takes that pressure away of them, feeling stressed of having to leave their property. So for them to literally just be on the driveway of their home with something that is like, kind, and quality, of course, it's not going to be maybe same square footage as, what you have in your home, but, at least you have a running kitchen, you can shower, you have a place to eat, you have a place to sleep.
Now, one thing people don't know, if they don't know about the coverage itself, but additional living expenses is what we call an incurred cost coverage. So when an insurer comes to see you, they don't necessarily want to write you a check for that. They say, well, you go spend the money, and then, which you may not have, spend the money you don't have, and then send us the bills, and if we think it's covered, we'll probably reimburse you for those services, for that extra bottle of ketchup, for the extra for getting a room. So one thing we see with that is people say, well, I need money now to go get those things, and an insurer will say, we're not giving you any money. You go incur it, you put on your credit card, you take out a loan, whatever you got to do, and then we'll pay you essentially whenever they feel like it. And now when you feel like it is at least 60 days between day of make a claim and day they have to make a claim decision. That's so people are out with their wives and kids trying to kind of on their own. So I assume you guys obviously help them get into a place without some of those same concerns.
Absolutely, yeah. I think one of our biggest thing is taking away that financial burden from the homeowner, right? Because what I tell a lot of people is, the average homeowner may not have those savings available to just uproot their family and go from, their primary home to a secondary property where they can live in while, the restoration contractors in there, molds getting done, or, demoing, or even the rebuild part of the claim. So for us to be able to come in and provide the homeowners an alternative option for housing. Obviously we want to get them into like, kind, and quality what they have. We'll get as close to it as we can. It's a big deal for us. Being able to see the smiles on their faces that come out of that, because I think that's the biggest issue, is that as they're going through this process, you kind of have to place yourself into that homeowner's shoes, understand what they're going through. It's not just that they have a damage. No, like their safe haven, their peace, which is their home, what they've worked so hard to obtain or to upkeep, is now damaged. It's in some type of way or form, it's compromised. So for us to be able to come on and, like I said, just provide that assistance, that sense of relief, for me, it's the biggest, joy that I take in the job.
That's nice. So does Black Diamond bill the insurance company on behalf of the insured, or how does that work?
Exactly. So for us, we're no out-of-pocket cost to the homeowner.
Oh, wow.
Because homeowners typically, like you were saying, Richie, they do have a set coverage limit on their policy. We do our best to budget that limit out and provide the housing for them.
That's awesome. That's
So-
awesome.
so-
and it starts with, and I know their operation, which is fantastic. So if you're considering that, how you would start is by contacting Black Diamond. They have an in-house attorney. They have public adjusters that can review your policy to see what type of coverage you have, and if you and with all that information that you give them about your claim, they can help assist you in the right direction and say, okay, this is how much you do have. This is because of this peril or because of whatever the situation is. Fully explain all of your coverages, and then at that point, even then assist, like you were saying, Steven. I mean, what a great service to be. Especially, I saw Hurricane Michael, the effects afterwards. There were homes that were just half missing, if not all the way missing, into where, or roofs were just all the way gone. And we did start to see RVs and manufactured homes and those types of things take place close to the homes, because for that same reason, whether it be looters or whichever. But how convenient is that to be on your property to help put your property back to a pre-loss condition? And you guys do that from soup to nuts, whatever help that's needed. So it starts with contacting Black Diamond and then saying, this is my claim, this is what's happening, and they can direct you from there. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So how would they get a hold of you?
So you guys can contact our main line, which is 866-688-0069. You can also reach us via email, which is info@blackdiamondservices.com, or our website, which is www.blackdiamondclaimsolutions.com.
Awesome.
That's
great.
The fact that you guys handle the billing and not taking it out of the client's pocket, again, because that's the biggest problem I hear with cost incurred. People stay in houses that they shouldn't be in.
It shouldn't be, right?
Because they don't have the money. They can't afford to incur the cost, much less pay those costs without any real promise or hope of getting that reimbursed quickly, if at all, from the insurance company.
That's right. You guys offer more services than ALE, isn't that right?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. And I hear you're getting into helping contractors out and homeowners alike that are in a situation where they don't have the proper funding or the right team in place. So what other services you guys offer?
Yeah, so that's another thing right there is within the industry space, right? So like dealing with like restoration contractors, mitigation specialists, and things like that, we actually provide claim funding. So being able to do invoice purchasing from them. I really like what you say a lot of the times, that it's better to take a percentage of something
Absolutely.
than have 0% of nothing, right? So
or 100% of nothing.
100% of nothing, exactly. So
yeah.
for us, that's a big deal to be able to help maybe sometimes these smaller companies that just need the cash flow, for us to be able to assist them. At the end of the day, what I really take pride in is who we are as a company and our team, right? Who we have. Most of our team is comprised of prior adjusters, people who've had experience dealing with carriers, working for the carriers. And I think that's just what separates us apart a little bit from the industry.
That's awesome. And they look at you as an expert in the industry, in writing expert reports, testifying, and those types of things within an insurance claim. So not only consumers and now contractors, because you can fund contractors, you can front additional living expenses and trailers or food reimbursements, those types of things up front rather than expending it. But now you can also, or attorneys are great for you as well because of your expert testimony services. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. I think that's been a big thing now, especially since the AOB push. Now that, attorneys don't have attorney fees. What I've been able to see, the growth come out of that is us being able to assist or help other firms increase their settlement demands by 25% or more by adding an evaluation for additional living expenses, which most of the times is typically excluded out of the settlement for the claim, or at the time of the homeowner now needing it, money's been closed for the claim.
I can tell you just in my line, it's hard to estimate ALE. Again, it's a cost incurred coverage. So for purposes of resolution of the claim, they still want to see you incur. And I said, well, if we're going to settle today, but they're not back in their house for another month, 2 months, 3 months, and then it becomes a very murky area. And it's hard to get resolution on it because the insurer doesn't want to pay it because they feel like they don't need to be out or can move right back in. And so I've never had an expert available to me now that I'm sitting here today. There's someone who can give me an opinion about ALE and how long that's going to take and what will be reasonably incurred by the insured as part of settlement. That's great.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's because, and again, we've talked so many times and worked with each other professionally that I just think that's just such a great just an add-on for a homeowner that in whichever case that they're in, they can recommend your service to the contractor who then is on a 90-day net terms, as an alternative to AOB. What contractors are offering now, especially through the RAF, raflorida.org is how you find us there. But our members are using contracts that would allow for 90-day net in billing, 90-day net terms to allow the adjusters to properly adjust the claim and make payouts. They have 60 days in today's law to pay or deny. And so we give 90 days. And then also they're offering a letter of protection. Is if they can't appraise it or they can't get it paid, and if they can't appraise it and they can't mediate it, then they must litigate it, right? And that's where we're going. That's when I was having those conversations and saying, 70% of something is better than 100% of nothing. Because in today's world, removing the attorney's fee statute, now homeowners are coming out of pocket. Some attorneys are offering that, 33 1/3%, and some of them around, 30% if they have to litigate this. And so that's where that came up with is like, unfortunately, you have to do it, but at least you're getting something, right? Rather than a ball of nothing, which they've been offering. And what Hans said in the beginning, and what we've been saying is that these insurance companies aren't playing fair ball. And we saw the results in the newspapers of saying after Milton and after Helene and the subsequent storms, Debbie or whichever it was, that they had such a high percentage of declination that it's like, what do homeowners do? A lot of them throw up their hands. And especially in today's environment where they're charging so much for insurance, double and sometimes triple the amount, but they're more and more declining perfectly valid claims. And now we see in the paper that they're going to be the Florida legislature is looking at bringing back a version of attorney's fees to help offset that or bring a more level playing field back to consumers. So right now, insurance companies, by removing bad faith and make it a lot more difficult in a separate action, but taking away the rights for this for attorney's fees, but really the rights to use an AOB contractor as well. I mean, folks were getting put back to pre-loss condition while the contractors were waiting it out. Contractors like myself at Air Quality Assessors, we were offering engineering services, mold testing services, asbestos, all that consulting services at no additional cost. So we can help out folks that were sitting in a home that was dilapidating, getting worse, and had mold. We can help them say, this is how bad it is, and we recommend a company like yours, if they didn't have the money, to be able to go and find additional living expense, to find an attorney like Hans that only works in this space, and that can get them money, new money. And so I feel really good in being able to do that. There were contractors that would put the whole entire house back, put roofs on while they were waiting for money. So talk about pure consumer protection with the assignment of benefit. And it really got a bad name, all because insurance companies knew that sophisticated business owners like myself and others that were getting the assignments were making sure the insurance companies did the right thing, and they didn't like that. They actually had to pay claims. So many times did we win in court that they had to pay, but then they make us go to court every single time, which is ridiculous. And now some of the laws that they're proposing would then make it a loser pays, and we've been talking about this for months and months. That's what we heard was coming, a loser pays environment. The only thing I'm worried about now that we don't have AOB, so if we get a bad ruling, then is the defense from the insurance company going to sue the insured if they had a bad ruling, And I'm not going to say if they had a bad lawyer or whatever, because you can have a great lawyer, you just have a bad judge, or one that doesn't understand, and you lose on a technicality, on an MTD or an MSJ, all on a technicality. Right, and Hans, so many times if you saw that, you would have a perfect case. You're like, I'm definitely going to win this. There's no way we're going to lose. And then you get there, and the judge just has a bad day.
And there's certainly days that the court will seek relief for one of the parties that doesn't even ask for it. We've seen it happen over and over. Judge will, well, I'm going to do this, and actually both parties, I've had it where both parties looked up and we both were like, and I'm like, Judge, no one asked for that type of relief.
Right.
Well, I'm giving it, and you're like. I mean, so those things certainly do come down the pike. I think judges these days are much more informed. I think they read a lot more than they used to over in the past. But you still never know. I mean, that's why you always tell people you don't know what's going to happen until the judge rules or the jury comes back.
That's right. I mean, if it's frivolous, then that's what the safe harbor is about, right? I mean, so because that's what people are saying now. When you read the bill, at least the House-sponsored bill, I don't know if the Senate bill is any different. I think it's has some minor differences in there. But in this bill, House Bill 1551 states that the judge makes the ruling on attorney's fees and would award such when they make the ruling. And so my whole fear is that, again, it's a technical loss. And are they going to move for then fees and costs? And I see where a protection could be if a judge then rules it and just make it, because it was egregious. The lawsuit was, say, round even numbers, sued for $100,000, but it was really worth $50,000, right? When it all came down to it. So that's going to curb that quote unquote fraud. But so would safe harbor, right? I mean, am I missing something?
Well, no. I mean, it's, House Bill 1551. Provides a bit of a kind of a sliding scale-ish that was used for the first time in 2021 in 627.70152, which first gave us, again, a kind of a sliding scale for the recovery of attorney's fees. This essentially goes back to that model, which was taken out in 2022. And again, while I'd like to see the relief in Senator Martin's bill, I think it's better for the consumer. 1551 at least puts something back on the table that honestly gives for myself on behalf of my clients some bit of leverage to try to get the insurer to come to the table and do the right thing.
Right. I think by offering that mechanism, which I think should be enacted on the consumer side, I think we've lost focus on protecting the consumer. And it started with $100 million given to our governor, who then was running for president. And of course, I see more articles out today about him taking the plane to Idaho again. What the heck is so attractive about Idaho? Like, are the potatoes that good there? I mean, what the heck is going on?
You can get them at Five Guys. They use Idaho potatoes. You just go down.
Yeah, was that popular? Oh my God. So he's prepping to run for president again in 3.5 years or whatever it is.
Really? You think so? You think he's going to run?
That's
really?
what the papers are saying. Now,
did he go to Idaho or Iowa?
Still probably.
They're both big,
for me, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay, I was just checking.
Right. So Iowa is with the 99 counties is shaped like a box, and
that's where he lost at the first time.
Right. All right. So apparently he went several places out west.
He likes to fly private. He likes the private jet.
He does, but this time he took the state's own plane.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good use of taxpayer dollars.
Isn't that great? Well, he doesn't have to report his expenses any longer. So.
Well, he didn't want to.
Right. So he made a law and he signed it and pushed it through. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's and a lot of our sarcasm, in case you don't know, is that we unfortunately know the law a little bit too well. That he makes it to where he got things passed very, very quickly when he's very powerful. He's lost his power since then.
Yes.
But he was so powerful 2 years ago that the Florida legislature literally said, whatever you want to do, we will push it through. You have our 100%
endorsement.
On everything.
In the paper. Like it was a quote. It wasn't even like a reporter said he heard something. It was a quote from the Senate president.
It really was. And they were excited about pushing his agenda, which was then fueled by money from the insurance lobby, who was in quote unquote in a crisis. But because of all that, we had all those major law changes, and we've seen nothing but continued insurance premium rises, and we have no type of reduction in sight at all. So we'll see how this legislature then tries to turn the tables on behalf of the consumers. We'll talk about that more, and we'll pick this right back up after our break with Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. We'll be right back. All right. We're back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell live every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. We do have a call-in number as well. So if you want to heckle us, you want to just call in, 407-774-8255. That's any Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. is for that phone number right there. It'll get you live on this radio station for any questions, comments, or just heckling. Good old-fashioned fun. 407-774-8255 is how to reach us here. We are sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida, raflorida.org, by contractors, for contractors, and consumers here in the state of Florida. We help with rights and laws that affect us here in the state of Florida revolving around property insurance. And if you are familiar with our show, we have other folks that are part of this insurance. We call them service professionals, public adjusters, attorneys, those types of folks as industry professionals that surround themselves in this industry, which is more or less the insurance or property insurance, I would say restoration industry. All of us help consumers here put them back to pre-loss condition. And it does take a village, and in many cases, it takes the entire village to get somebody to pre-loss condition. As we talked about, there was the paper stated that there was a 77% declination rate of all claims filed by Citizens Property Insurance, which I think it was holding about 1 million policies at that time. At the height, it got about 1.3, 1.4 million policies, and then started doing some takeout reductions, got down to about 1 million policies out of about 6.5 million. So about 1/6 of the entire market was held by Citizens. And then just from the two storms, I call them the Hilton storms, right? Milton and Helene, those two created a bunch of mess here in the state of Florida, Georgia, Carolinas. But in the state of Florida, Citizens that had that many claims of 1 million policies, they declined 77%. They denied those claims outright or paid them under deductible. And the Snake Farm came in second place at 50%, and then All Snake at 47%. Those are the top insurers in the state of Florida. And this is why we have folks like Steven here on the show, is because if you're sitting in a home and you're looking up at your ceiling and it's bubbling, it's getting mold, all those things are happening, and you're like, well, my insurance either denied me or they're slow walking me, I'm not getting any answers, to know that we have help for you. We have some relief for you. And that's maybe you do need additional living expense. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I think the best way to start is by calling Black Diamond. Steven is our guest today and has been a resource for myself and my company and consumers that I've come across with. And they're like, how do I help this client? You know, if a contractor asks me, they need a trailer delivered to their home. You know, they need to have an apartment for themselves for a year or whatever that looks like. And in many different instances, you're able to help them. And now you're able to help contractors too, and helping them fund their endeavors, right? They may have 10 or 20 homeowners now where they have this 90-day net terms, and maybe it goes to litigation. Now they have another year to wait while they've already expended all those man hours, all those materials. Now they have a solution. Now contractors have solutions, consumers have solutions, and that's through Black Claim Solutions. Man, I should really get into this. I like the little. Anyways, but that, what a great resource for that. And so if it all starts with a phone call to you or maybe to your website, how do they get a hold of you?
Again, yeah. So you guys could reach us at 866-688-0069. Our email is info@blackdiamondclaimservices.com, and our website is www.blackdiamondclaimsolutions.com.
That's awesome. And check them out online. Look at the reviews. Just like always, make sure that you know who you're working with. Check them out online, look at their resources, and ask for referrals. And I know you guys have so many different referrals that you can offer to them. And now, and just like we just brought up, that you even work with attorneys that can help them when it's such a weird niche, right? Because it's like you never knew, and Hans didn't even know this before, that you guys act as an expert in the industry for ALE to help them in the settlement process to hopefully bring them some more money before it closes out.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, one thing I was going to ask is, in the event that a client of yours ends up not getting coverage or coverage is not available to them, do they have to pay Black Diamond for the services they've been provided?
No. Black Diamond will fully take responsibility for what we've funded for the living expenses. That's why we're zero out of pocket, no cost to the homeowner, non-recourse.
Oh, there you go.
That's awesome. So if you deliver a trailer to somebody's home, and even we talked to Sadi today, and she's like, a lot of these trailers even have fireplaces in them. You won't even miss your other home by having these. They're not used ones like the FEMA trailers or what? Did I say that right? The FEMA trailers that were all out and just broken down and all that. You guys actually deliver new trailers, and that are very similar to what they have now. It's not going to be like the square footage, but it's everything that they need, and even adding that additional fireplace, I thought was pretty cool. But those are offered no money up front, and they're in an insurance claim. You look at everything, you then afford them that, and even if they don't get paid, they still have the trailer out there for use.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, my biggest thing with the homeowners is I always want to make sure that they get what they need, right? Like, so for me, my priority as I'm assessing the claim, reviewing it, is I want to make sure that the homeowner uses this for the time that they need. So a lot of the times it just depends on how the claim is going, right? The process and everything. So whether at the point we're speaking with the adjuster from the insurance carrier and they say, hey, you know what, Steve, for the first week, we're willing to give them an allowance that you guys are going to cover for this month. So what I always leave it up to homeowners is budgeting out what their policy limit is. I want to make sure I can sustain you for a worst case scenario. We know that a contractor's timeline can give you 3 to 4 months, but in reality that could be pushed back another 6 to 8 to even 12 months sometimes. So my biggest thing is that as I'm dealing with homeowners, I want to make sure that I can sustain you for a longer time in a worst case scenario.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And especially after those declined or denied claims, sometimes those folks come to you and you're still able to help them. And I know that through experience, because I've referred people over to Eric and those on your team, and to where they were first turned down by citizens or maybe even paid under deductible. And then you guys were able to help them out and say, well, actually, all this, and this, and all those things should be charged on the claim, which now gets them above their deductible, who then gets them now to finally to be able to get money going the right direction and putting them in some sort of temporary housing solution. So I just think it's just a great testimony. Whatever stage that they're in, it's always a great opportunity to give you guys a call and see how you can help them. I mean, it really doesn't hurt to give you guys a call.
Absolutely, definitely.
Steven, do you guys do pack out or anything along those lines? If people don't want to leave their home and they're concerned about the home, do you assist them with getting their belongings into storage or out of the house?
So us as a company specifically, that's not something that we do ourselves, but because of the network and the relationships we've been able to build throughout the years, we have companies that specialize in pack out. So we're always just a phone call away from, calling someone that we can refer or someone that we trust,
that works within your network. That also bills very similar to how you do. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. So that's another vendor that's within your network that can help do the pack out, because let's just be honest, there are hoarders out there, and I may be one of them. But there are people out there that, not that as bad as I've seen, but where there's literally boxes stacked everywhere, and the restoration crew can't get in there to do anything until those are packed out and moved.
Exactly.
Right? So there are companies that do offer that pack out service and moving services, that kind of thing, so work can be done in their home without putting money up front. I mean, that's just fantastic. And so if you missed anything on that, you can still give Black Diamond a call, and they would be happy to point you in the right direction for whether it be that additional pack out or even additional living expenses. Now, also, I think you guys, if I'm not mistaken, you guys offer different services as well as experts outside of the ALE. Maybe was that inventory, or did that have to do with that? Do you guys do anything with inventory?
With inventory,
maybe like salvageable versus unsalvageable,
like contents, more or
less. Yes.
So again, I think that would be something more that we would refer out as far as something that we specialize in.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. I know there are pack out companies, and there's ones that put values on those items, because it's two different kind of specialties, right? And I know you guys are great with numbers, so that's why I was like, maybe that would be a good shoe-in, by the way. So, and just think about me, Black Diamond Packing. I think I'm onto something.
I like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say about that after show. One thing about the work you do and some of the pack out discussion we've been having, a case came out last week, and I didn't bring it with me today. It's 20 pages long, and it was reversing a jury verdict for $500,000 to a couple whose home had been destroyed in Hurricane Michael up in the Panhandle.
Wow.
And basically the court, in an amazingly sad way, basically just said, you didn't cooperate enough. You didn't, all the conditions, the house is gone, right? I mean, the house is just gone. Nothing left. And basically they said, well, you reported it too late. Your personal property inventory wasn't ACV. You didn't have receipts or values. I mean, just went on and on and on. These people they lost everything. There's nothing left. And the court said, and took away the verdict and reversed it and said they didn't, and not going back for a new trial, going back to tell them that they weren't getting anything.
Wow.
Because this court, the first DCA, which is normally not that much of an activist, especially in light of the fact that it's Hurricane Michael, house is gone, and they said, well, you didn't do a good enough job of cooperating.
And I think that goes back to our testament of saying, get a professional involved.
Yep.
If they had a public adjuster, they would have an attorney involved to ensure that all those duties were performed prior to filing suit. And then within litigation as well. I mean,
it was Kurt Allen, of all people, who's back a little bit from the grave.
Jesus. No kidding.
Who's an attorney that has a bit of a reputation. But this opinion came out completely in his favor. These people had a fair verdict, upheld by the trial court, and literally the first issue took it all away.
Wow. And that was a 2018 storm as well. So
yes.
They have been litigating this for a long time.
Yeah, they're in year 7 at this point on appeal. And some of what Steven was talking about is when you need experts. What that case told me was, if you think you can do any of this by yourself, you're wrong. If you think you can do any of this with one expert, you probably can't. So I would say from this, again, for inventory or for personal property and all that, for ALE explanation, if they estimated things, they said, well, there's no support for that. And that's where I think services like Black Diamond could provide. That would be very helpful to people.
Absolutely. And you can always check us out on our website. We offer, our members offer services for consumers that are in this one time of need in their property damage claim losses. And so check us out online, find the resources there, and use our members at www.raflorida.org. You'll find a contractor in your area that can help assist you in your time of need in that property damage claim. And so after that, if you still need help, it's just that one call to Kennon Law. I think I'm going to nail this down even better. I'll get it down. But that's how we can help you here on the Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. Check us out online, www.raflorida.org. We'll be right back after the break. Right, we're back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell live every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. And a few days later, we're on every streaming site you can think of. Spotify and iTunes are the number 1 and number 2 spot you should check, or find us online on our YouTube page or our website, contractortalkpodcast.com. Find us, like us, subscribe us on our YouTube channel, and you can then tune in. Even though we have a face for radio, why not come and check us out on the video, watch our shorts on here because we not only put our whole show on there, but we'll put some reels and some little different sound bites on there of a great show, or just one of our guests on here and something that we wanted to highlight for that specific show. So check us out there, like and subscribe us there on our YouTube page, mostly because I need more YouTube subscribers. So there you go. That's my call out. So today our special guest is Steven with Black Diamond Services. I would say I like the word services because you guys offer so many things than just ALE, just additional living expense. And I say that but it's such a great help that you guys offer to consumers that have that one time of need, and maybe they're like me and they have a ton of stuff in the way, and they need some assistance. You're able to help them there. But really, it's like if they need that trailer delivered to their home, or they need to find that 3-bedroom, 2-bath house because they've been displaced, and they're too scared, and they're sitting in their home looking up and their ceiling's still falling down. They need to give you a call. And again, I'm excited to have you on the show. Since we first found out last week, I was like, yes, because we've been wanting to put this out. It's such a great service for people to know and understand. And when they have questions, they can give you a call and say, hey, I'm dealing with this specific loss or specific claim, and this is my policy. You guys can review their policy and give them assistance in whatever way they need, even if it's outside of your scope and additional living expense. But I love the fact that you guys are also experts in the trial court system, to where you can then be an advocate for the homeowner And even before all those, because we're coming up to the conclusion of the claim. And as you know, and as we all know, that once it's done and it's final, there's no more money coming out of it. The release is signed. There's no more money forthcoming. And so, and I think Hans even learned something today about your company, said you can step in as the expert and say, well, this is the proposal. This is how much they're going to need over the next year to be able to make sure that they're whole, thereby giving them more money in their pocket. So with all that said, what's the best way to get a hold of you if somebody is in that time of need and they have all those questions for you?
Yeah, again, so if you guys want to reach out to me personally, again, my name is Steven Marty. Mostly everyone calls me Marty because they say I have 2 first names, so I leave it up to you guys to decide which one you want to call me by. My direct line is 954-579-4829. The company's phone number is 866-688-0069. You can find us also on the web at www.blackdiamondclaimsolutions.com. Our email is info@blackdiamondservices.com. And then my email is Steven, STEVEN, @blackdiamondservices.com.
Beautiful. Love it, man. Yeah. Love it. What a great resource. And then, Hans, to kind of pick back up on our first segment there, we're discussing what we think the legislature is going to do, even though it's so funky because of how weird it has been the past couple of years, anti-consumer almost seemingly. And now we're looking at a little ray of sunshine for the consumer and the possibility of bringing back a version of attorney's fees. And like I mentioned, that comes very helpful in the point to where, it's not an egregious statement. It's not like, the insurance companies have to pay more. It's more or less like doing what's right for the consumer. If your indemnity amount is your damaged amount is $10,000 and they wrongfully deny you and it's found through a trial court that they were wrong, and I mean the insurance company was wrong, why should you have to bear the cost of a big law firm, experts and all of that, just so you can get what was originally yours to begin with? None of that makes sense.
Well, it doesn't, and that's why that wasn't the law until December of 2022. The law before December of 2022 is exactly what you just said, which is where the insured was not penalized for bringing a claim or going to litigation because the insurer refused to pay, which is what we've seen more so now because they did take away the statutory attorney's fees, as you noted, have been around for more than 100 years here in Florida. So what we're seeing, hopefully, is a bit of return to normalcy in the present House bill, which does some very good things to put some leverage on the insurance companies to have to pay those attorneys' fees and costs, even if you don't go to trial.
Right.
And for most folks, and for most cases in the United States, most never go to a final hearing. Most get resolved before that. And what the law in its current state does, it allows them to decide to pay what they owe whenever they want to.
Right.
With no other liability, no bad faith exposure, no exposure to have to pay attorney's fees. They just call you up one day and go, we think we're going to pay you what we owe you. How about that?
Right.
And you go, thanks, because there's nothing else I can do about it.
Right. And you really can't. You can't even get bad faith against them unless you do get to a verdict on the first case.
Correct.
And then wait another few years after that. So there's no way to settle the first case without signing a full release. And that includes you're not going after them for bad faith. It's a full and final release.
Correct.
That's the only way you can get your money. So now they know that's their tactic, is they say, okay, you've waited all the way to the very last second where you're just going to blow up, and then they offer you something, and they say, this is close to what you want. You might as well take it. And then you finally you just get tired of the waiting. Right?
Well, I mean, at that point, for the client never want to do this in the first place.
No.
Right? The client never wanted to be involved in a lawsuit. They, as Stephen has used a variety of words for it, as I like to say, your home should be your sanctuary. You get to close the door behind you at night and keep the wiles of the world away from you. That's all they want. I mean, that's all people want. I mean, the insurer talks about people being greedy and always wanting like a new kitchen or new bathrooms. Most clients I find just want to go back to a little bit of normalcy. I haven't seen anyone who's looked for gold-plated faucets or knew anything as a result of their loss. They're just like, I just need a kitchen back. I just need flooring. My kids can't walk around on concrete. I seldomly see anybody say, I need a new kitchen. I mean, I'll say, I haven't ever seen that. where people really want more than what they deserve. Because keep in mind, the policy provides new for old. Insurers complain, they want a new kitchen. Well, if their kitchen's destroyed, you can't give them an old kitchen.
Right.
You can only give them a new kitchen. So, and that's what the policy is there for. That's what the premiums are built to be. The premiums take into account the fact they're giving you something new for something old.
That's right.
If they didn't want to, they don't have to. But that's the policy that they sell. Provides replacement cost value for things that are damaged as a result of a sudden and accidental incident.
That's right. And that state statute that gives you that. In an HO3 policy, the Florida state statute says they have to give you two things. That's an RCV policy, replacement cost value, of what it costs today to replace it. Like we talk about, the loser is the television, right? I mean, it's something like that, right? You buy it last year for $1,000. This year it's on sale for $250.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you lose there, but you still get your $250 same television, 75-inch, whatever it is, nowadays, right? But those other things like drywall, the workmanship, the materials, the roofing materials, those things are replacement cost value of what it is today.
Well, it's pretty much because I can't buy used paint.
Right.
Right. I mean, I can't go, hey, I need a room this size. Do you have anything at the used paint store that'll fit that'll fit these walls? No, you have to put new drywall up. You have to do new paint, new texture. And again, that's new for old. That's what RCV is. That's how the policy is priced to accommodate that requirement.
That's right. And again, that's part of the Florida statute that you get RCV policy and ordinance and law. Now, they did make a change, and they said, well, you can nix out ordinance and law only if the homeowner signs a rider or an agreement or exclusion against that specific. But ordinance and law is there to protect. It usually gives you about a 25% of your coverage for those code upgrades. So we understand that there are some homes built in 1980s. There have been many code changes since then, and that they have a major disaster, and they have to bring it up to current code. So at that point, talk about bringing old to new.
Yeah.
But you have to. And if it was never, and I've always heard this saying, well, it wasn't a code to begin with, so we're not going to bring it back to code. It's like, that's where you're wrong. The code says if it wasn't up to code to begin with, you have to bring it to current code today. So I'm like, that's where ordinance and law comes in to help consumers. And that's why we're advocates for this, right? I mean, all of us in this room help insureds understand what their almost what their rights are, not what's covered under the policy, right? But what their rights are of them just being, a consumer that has an insurance claim and just to do the right thing. And so without the assignment of benefits that contractors using before, now they're doing the 90-day net terms with the LOP, so letter of protection, to where if it gets settled within appraisal or mediation, that's fantastic. And that's what we hope for, that it gets resolved on that early stage, because a consumer can handle 90 to 120 days much better than they can a 2-year trip. Absolutely. Right? And that's where people start to get desperate. That's where they start to take real low offers. And that where it becomes just unbearable for the consumer. And so with all of those changes, now we still need to offer that help to the consumer. And I think we've got it figured out with our industry to be able to help consumers out and say, we're going to still put our work forward, but here's the new communication, right?
Well, if
things are going to happen a lot faster.
I don't think you can say the word industry, because the industry doesn't necessarily do that. I think the members of RAF, we all know we're all willing to work together, and I think that's an important distinction. If you start hiring contractors that aren't members of a group such as this, you can't guarantee what they're going to request as far as payment goes. They may not be willing to take the 70 cents on the dollar that others with RAF are willing to do to work together. But that organization in and of itself does that. You have comfort if you go to the RAF website and pull a vendor from there, that if you need help getting those bills resolved, they'll help do that with you. They're not going to say, I want 100 cents on the dollar, or I'm going to lien your house.
Right, I hate that.
RAF won't do that, and I think it's such an important distinction. The industry is full of a lot of people. Some are good, some aren't as good, but those with RAF all work together to make sure the client gets taken care of.
That's right. That's a good point. When you are shopping for contractors, a lot of times the carriers will tell you, go get 3 estimates. Go find contractors, give you different estimates. One roofing contractor, drywall, paint guy, all these other different types of services, into where you really don't. You really don't. There are public adjusters that offer the full estimates, and they're just one estimate, right? There are other folks that offer estimates that aren't 3 different things. That's just there to slow you down, to confuse you, and those types of things. But to Hans' point, if you're searching for contractors, make sure you vet them and they understand the insurance world if you have an open claim. Much different than getting a quote to redo your bathroom because you just want to reface the cabinets and look pretty, right? Much different than you're in a disaster or you're dealing with Citizens, which is like the long DMV line that never moves, and you rarely get any service. And if you do, you get that letter of saying, "Ooh, we did see that you have damages to your home." It's, "Ooh, man, your deductible is just or the payment or the damages amount was just under your deductible." Right. So unfortunately, fortunately, or unfortunately, we're not paying your claim, or we're not making any payments.
We're still asking real quick though. Can they go to RAF, the website, and find vendors?
Absolutely, they can, and you'll find our vendor membership directory online, and we do make changes quite often. You can always call us there from the website or send us an email at info@raflorida.org. Check us out online at www.raflorida.org to find a vendor in your area. If you're a contractor, you're listening to this now, you're an electrician, you're a plumber, you're a drywall guy, anyone that or that works in this industry, give us a call or find us online, send us an email. We'd love to have you on the show and definitely be a guest or be a member of our association. And we do vet all of our members. We make sure that they do it the right way. They have great referrals, and they're insured. And especially they have experience in this industry. It is a different animal in dealing with this. But Steven, thank you so much for being on here. We'll talk to you guys next week. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell.